Hi everyone! If you're new here, hi, I'm V. Welcome to the channel. As some of you may know, I did the No Buy 2022 thing for art supplies. If you haven't seen my No Buy 2022 journey yet, I'll leave a playlist down below. It's only 3 videos, so not much of a journey. Anyway, throughout the year I did learn some things along the way, and I wanted to share those things with you in the form of tips for surviving No Buy 2023. And for some, I'll talk about my own experience from this past year as an example. Let's get straight into it. Number 1, which I believe is the most important, is to do an inventory check at the beginning of your no buy. This not only reminds you of the supplies you already have, but may remind you of some forgotten supplies as well. If you're able to, lay out all your supplies and take a photo or photos of your supplies in a way that you are able to identify everything. You'll be able to refer back to these photos during the year should you question yourself, do I need more paper? Do I need more brushes? Do I need more of anything? If you're more of a list kind of person, then by all means, make a list instead. Whatever works for you best. Now, I actually didn't do an inventory check before my no buy, but I later found that it would have been useful to have done early on. For example, I wanted to buy some new fountain pens. If you know me, I don't use fountain pens very often, so I went through my whole collection. You can refer to my fountain pen collection video down below. Personally, for me, being able to physically see how much I have diminishes the thought of wanting to buy more, at least for another several months. Tip number 2, if you want something so badly, don't agonize, do something about it. This may come in the form of starting a DIY project, giving old supplies away to create more room for new supplies, or maybe selling some of your supplies off to buy that one new product you desperately want. This actually covers a couple of the following tips as well, which brings us to tip number 3. Give away, donate, or sell the supplies you no longer love and appreciate so they can be loved and appreciated by someone else. I'm going to use my fountain pen example again because it's been the one art supply I applied all these tips to. Again, if you've seen my fountain pen collection video, you'll have heard me talk about how I never used some pens because they were too heavy for me. So, I ended up selling those, and for the few pens that were too cheap to resell, I just gave it away as freebies. The person who received them was extremely happy, and that made me very happy as well. I did not expect that. But it only made sense because if they're buying whatever you're selling, chances are you have the same taste in things. I'd like to expand on donating a little. What I did was set up an empty box, and as the year went on, I'd fill it with supplies that I no longer wanted. And then, now I can send it off to a better home. Tip number 4. Make it yourself. As mentioned previously, if you want something, do something about it. And for this tip, it's to embark on a DIY project for whatever that thing is that you want. I have 2 examples to show you for this one. Sometime in early 2022, I wanted a brush case. As you may know, I got the second bundle from Rosemary and I was overwhelmed with brushes. I wanted a way to organize them, and I agonized over which brush case to get from Jackson's and agonized over stopping the urge to buy it at all, until I decided I'd make my own. And so I did. It turned out so well, I made 2. I hand sewed these myself from old shirts. It's not perfect, but it's the best I could do. It took a really long time, but all that effort and time put into it just makes me appreciate it much more. Obviously, it's nothing like the brush cases I wanted, but it gave me a way to organize and store my brushes, which was the main reason why I wanted a brush case in the first place. For those interested, technically, it's more of a brush case insert because this sleeve here is a regular laptop sleeve. The second example I have to show you is from when I wanted a fountain pen case. I kept seeing so many in my feed that I found myself wanting one, and after some thinking, planning, and lots of effort into sewing, I made this. Hand sewn again, and again, not perfect, but I saved a lot of money for it. Moving on to tip number 5, make lists for spendings and savings. If you're on a complete ban, then maybe just one savings list is fine for you to track how much money you'd have saved by not buying so-and-so supply. But if you're like me, where you're a bit more relaxed with your no-buy, keeping a spendings list where you list all the things you accidentally bought will help remind you whether you're within budget or not. As mentioned in my no-buy conclusion video, I spent a total of about $250 on art supplies this past year, which roughly translates to about $20 per month. That's a significant decrease from what I had spent in 2021, so I'm happy in that regard. Anyway, looking at my savings list, I'm able to tell you that I saved about $1,100 on supplies that I would have happily bought if I hadn't been actively controlling my urges. Which brings me to tip number 6, active thinking, or active questioning. Whenever I wanted to buy something new, I'd ask myself, why do I want it? What is my intention of getting it? Will it be useful? Do I need it? Do I already have something similar? Does it do the same job? Will I realistically use it? Do I want it just because it's new? Fear of missing out? If I buy it and don't like it, can I sell it later? Where can I donate it to later? The questions will differ depending on what it is you want to buy. But I hope you understand what I'm trying to say with this tip of active thinking. I found that whenever I wanted something, like a new paint color for example, I do a lot of research on it, watch lots of reviews, which I'm sure a lot of you do as well. And at the end of it all, I'd end up buying the product because weeks would have gone by and I would have justified my purchase with all the research I had done. But with active thinking, I was able to unjustify many would-be purchases. Tip number 7, focus on creating art. The whole point of owning art supplies is because we enjoy using them, don't we? So why are we so focused on buying more when we should be focusing on using the ones we already have? I filled up 5 sketchbooks this past year, and I'll be honest, I probably wouldn't have if I hadn't been focused on my no-buy. So appreciate your supplies. Show them some love again. Tip number 8, quarterly checkpoints. If you followed my no-buy journey, you'll know I only did one mid-year checkpoint. I may have done it just to update you all on my progress, but I felt like the exercise actually helped me realize whether I was on track or going off track. So it was helpful in that regard. If you're doing a year-long no-buy, I recommend checking in with yourself every 3 or 4 months. It can really help you stay focused mentally. Tip number 9, accountability buddy. Someone to hold you accountable to your no-buy rules. Personally, I have YouTube and my viewers. That's enough accountability for me. However, personally, I didn't necessarily have one single accountability buddy, but I did express my urges to various friends throughout the year, and I'd feel myself go off track, tell a friend, and they'd slap me back on track. Figuratively speaking, of course. Last but not least, tip number 10, urge control. Consider all of the tips I've given you today as weapons, now in your arsenal to fight the monster that is your urge. At the end of the day, you're the one in control of that monster. Even without the weapons, you already have the ability to defeat it. Now, I recognize that we're all different people and we all have different tendencies and temptations, so these tips may not work for you. You might be the kind of person who needs to go completely cold turkey, and that's okay too. I'm just not that type of person. However, I would like to hear from you guys. I know some of you have been on your own no-buy journey as well, so I'd love to hear about what your tips are that helped you survive the no-buy. I hope some of you, if not most of you, will find these tips useful and helpful in your no-buy journey. And that's it for today. As always, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Don't forget to drink lots of water and stay hydrated.